Hello and welcome to this character workshop session on Calisto and Melebea, a play written around the middle of the 1520s, printed by the Rastles, and it's quite an early interlude text that we have. The Rastles were very one of the pioneering group of printers that were producing plays that were possibly performed on their own stage. John Rastall actually had his own stage built in his house in Finsbury Fields, and the question of the definition of first purpose-built theatres will inevitably bounce around over time. But for this particular workshop, we're focusing in on the character of Celestina the bawd, as described, and we're going to be playing around with different performance contexts. There are broadly speaking, three scenes, or at least three reasonably isolatable scenes that feature her. We're probably only going to get through the first couple of bits of her business, and we're going to see how it goes. So there's an opening speech, a scene with a servant called Parmino, and then a later scene that vaguely intersects with the plot with Melebea, title character, which we may get round to doing today. We may not, who knows. To work through the various iterations of Celestina, I'm sure most of us here will be getting a chance to give a performance. Reading Celestina first will be Greg. Introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Greg. I'm currently in Berkshire, and I'm looking forward to getting back to this character.
Also, probably reading Parmino later on, but you never know, we might persuade him to be Celestina as well. Alan.
I am Alan Scott, based in Suffolk.
And probably reading Celestina a few times will be Sarah.
Hello, I'm an actor, writer and director living in Germany.
And similarly, potentially doing Celestina a number of times will be Liza.
Hi, I'm Liza, actor, singer, and text person in London.
And I'm your host, Robert Crighton, and I will not be Celestina at any point in this particular instance. I'm going to generally try and keep things moving along and just trying to provoke and be helpful and occasionally very unhelpful as we dance through this text. So for the first read of the opening speech, Greg's first up. He suggested we do this, so he gets first to go in on bat. So give us your first opening gambit blast. Don't be afraid to make big choices for Celestina the bawd, her first appearance.
Right. Now the blessing that Our Lady gave her son, that same blessing I give now to you all, that I come thus homely, I pray you a pardon. I am sought and sent for as a woman universal. Celestina, of truth, my name is. To call Sempronio for me about doth inquire, and it was told me that I should have found him here. I am sure he will come hither anon, but the whilst I shall tell you a pretty game. I have a wench of Sempronio's, a pretty one, that sojourneth with me. Alicia is her name. But the last day we were both nigh a stark shame, for Sempronio would have her to himself several, and she loveth one Crighton better or as well. This Crighton and Alicia sat drinking in my house, and I also making merry, and as the devil would, far from our thinking, Sempronio almost came on us suddenly. Then wrought I my craft of bawdry. I had Crighton go up and make himself room, to hide him in my chamber among the broom. Then made I Alicia sit down a sewing, and I with my rock began for to spin. As who saith of Sempronio we had no knowing, he knocked at the door, and I let him in. I've just not complained. Sorry. Sorry, guys. Words gone funny. And I let him in. And for a countenance, I did begin to catch him in mine arms, and said, See, who kisseth me, Alicia, will not kiss thee. Celestina, for a countenance, made her grieved and would not speak, but still did so. Why speak ye not? Quod Sempronio. Have ye me moved? Have I not a cause? Quod she. No, quoth he, I trow. Oh, traitor, quod she. Full well dost thou know. Where hast thou been these 3 days from me? That the imposture me is, and evil death take thee. Peace, mine Celestina, quod he. Why say ye thus? Alas, why ye put yourself in this woe? The hot fire of love so brenneth between us that my heart is with us wherever I go. And for 3 days' absence to me, to say to me, so in faith methinketh ye be to blame. But now, hark well, for here beginneth the game. Crito in my chamber above that was hidden, I think lay not easily, and began to jumble. Sempronio heard that and asked who was within. Above in the chamber that did so tumble. Who? Quoth she. A lover of mine. Mayhap ye stumble. Quod he, on the truth, as many one doth. Go up, quoth she, and look whether it be sooth. Well, quoth he, I go. Now thought I not so. I said, come, Sempronio, let this fool alone, for thy long absence she is in such woe, and half beside herself, and her wit nigh gone. Well, quoth he, above yet there is one. Thou knows what I? Yes, quoth he, I thee require. It is a wench, quoth I, sent me by a friar. What friar? Quoth he. Well, thou needst know. Quoth I then. It is the friar. Oh, quoth he, what a load have that woman to bear him. Yea, quoth I, though women per case bear heavy full oft, yet they shall gall in no place. Then he laughed. Yea, quoth I, no more words of this, for this time too long we spend here amiss.
And thus ends the tale. We've got that lacuna on it. It is the friar, and we can assume the line is saying that the friar from such and such parish down the road.
Right.
Suggestions for people to throw in there. So it's story time from Celestina comes on and basically goes, hello, everyone. I was told I was meeting someone here. Nobody's come. Let me tell you a story about this person I'm supposed to be meeting. It is quite disturbing that everyone went for Crito there. That's considering my surname. So
I do apologise.
I'm sure last time we went for Crito.
Crito?
I'm fine. I'm fine with it. It's not creating an existential crisis at all.
But you got to admit, it is funny.
Yes.
Yeah. And totally unmeaning from me at that point. I didn't even think of that. What you missed was I was being recorded at that point, so somebody was recording me doing that. So that was the reason I stopped. Half the reason I stopped at one point. So I was like, "Go away!" Trying to be serious. Anyway.
So there's lots of technical things with this, some of which is quite difficult to do in this virtual space because it feels like a very dynamic performance of going over here, and here is a voice, and here is a thing, and this is the person here, and then I push them into the cupboard. And the noises, I love the word jumble. I mean, it's probably jumble, but I stuck with the spelling of jumble. And all these shenanigans, as it were, that Celestina gets up to. Thoughts about her from the room?
Great. She's so great. Literally, while you were reading that, Greg, I was literally rubbing my hands together under the table. I was so excited. I'm like, oh, I love her. She's fantastic. I can't wait to read this. But
she's a glorious film.
Glorious, yeah. I mean, yeah.
I wanted to start off, and this might be the way I read it, but I was thinking, and I didn't because this was the first read through. I was thinking about a little bit of audience interaction, maybe a few ad-lib comments about, "Ooh, haven't seen you around for a while," or and that could work with the friar too, because if we use somewhere local, in theory, at least to this performance, so I'll pick somewhere nearby, then I can go back to the person who I just picked on.
In that case, maybe it's a deliberate lacuna. I don't know whether it's a textual manuscript in the printed, whether it's just damaged, or whether there's actually a deliberate gap there for that.
I'd be interested to see the Spanish, to see whether there's an analogous line there. But I mean, who knows? Perhaps Celestina is either a creation or an embellishment by the English language playwright. But yeah, it would be interesting to check text against text.
Well, yeah, I mean, the source is a novel rather than a play, so there is that element, but there's also the element that it may be feeding off the earlier Dame Serif tradition as well. There's and some of the other stories that may have come to us via another, there's a whole overlapping mishmash of potential elements to this that feed into each other, as well as just the obvious. It's a translated adaptation of a part of the book.
It looks like the rhyme is Anne with van and woman. So that would indicate that maybe the last word of the line is the friar's denomination, Franciscan, Dominican.
Can I might be able to, because where I am, I might still be able to get it to work. But because I've been working ham. So it might read, but yeah, we can always try it with Dominic, whatever.
Yeah, Sarah.
I didn't realise it was a translation. I mean, I know nothing about this. But one thing that occurred to me that, well, this is probably what I would do. Like when it gets there, quod I then, it is the friar, and then out to the audience. And again, wherever you are, you could make it local to them. But like, it's the friar. Church over there, because then you could get a bit of audience interaction going on, and obviously you'd make it a proper stage whisper so that they could hear what you were saying. But like, it would just kind of add to the nudge, nudge, wink, wink kind of aspect of it.
Yeah, I mean, I like that. And I mean, maybe an easy substitution would be, it is the friar. By Our Lady, he looks much like that man.
I love it. I just got the feeling that she's been here a while, if that makes sense. I think she's probably, I don't know what she's been doing, but she's been sat there, and then she sort of starts this, or she spots the audience. But I don't know. It was just, it's been playing on my mind, this scene.
Well,
I can see why.
It does have a real panto element of, bursting on. Hello, everyone. Hello, boys and girls. Now the blessing that Our Lady gave her son. That same blessing I give now to you all. Lovely.
Oh yeah, no, good. Yeah.
I think let's go back to the top. So Sarah, you're up next. We're going to stop and start a bit. We're also going to play around with audience responses. So anyone in the room, if you want to respond appropriately, feel free to do that, either in English or in cat.
Sorry, he's a pain in the ass.
There's an association with cats that this text also has, so that's fine. It's perfectly fine. So we'll just go down to, before you tell the story, just the first sort of 8 or so lines. Okay. Tell you a pretty game, and we'll just go through that and look for where you might be wanting to try and G up the audience to give you responses, because I think that's also what this figure is doing. It's not just expecting audience response. If they don't give it, ask for it.
Oh, okay.
Let's try that again.
I'm going to push my table back a bit so I've got a bit of room to.
So, plot action has happened. They've gone off stage. Make your big entrance.
I'm going to catch that wire. I'm going to unplug my headphones. If I start to give feedback, just let me know.
Yeah.
Now, the blessing that Our Lady gave her son, that same blessing I give now to you all. That I come thus, homely, I pray you of pardon. I am sought and sent for as a woman universal,
Just going to pause you there. So that I come thus homely, is that talking about, I've not got my best dress on?
Exactly, I think so.
Yeah, so it's that thing. And again, it's very much like that panto dame entrance of, this is what I'm wearing at the moment.
Yeah.
Slightly déshabillé.
Yeah.
So let's give some audience response as she comes in. Let's see how that goes. Let's go full on, everyone. So once again, Celestina.
From the top.
From the top.
Now the blessing that Our Lady gave her son, that same blessing I give now to you all.
Yay!
Hey!
I come thus only. I pray you of pardon. I am sought and sent for as a woman.
Oh, yeah.
Universal. Celestina of truth, my name is to call. Oh, darling, I'll see you later. Celestina of truth, my name is to call, and Sympronio for me about doth inquire. And it was told me I should have found him here.
He's behind you.
Nah, he's gone. He's gone. He went off stage left.
He's gone.
Yeah.
He's gone.
He's just his second left.
Oh, I am sure he will come hither anon. But the whilst I shall tell you a pretty game. I have a wench of Sempronio's. A pretty one. That sojourneth with me. Alicia is her name. But the last day we were both nigh a stark shame. For Sempronio would have had her to himself several. And she loveth one Crito better, or as well. Okay,
let's pause there. So this is, once we go into story time, you're going to have to really work hard to make sure we follow all the plot points.
Yeah.
So especially if we make noises, you're going to have to go back and do it again.
Okay.
Because I mean that way.
Okay.
Also, I think there's a room for a pause. I'm sure he will come hither anon.
Yeah. Did I miss that line, actually?
No. But you went straight into the next line, and I think there's room for a bit of
business.
Yeah, a bit of business there.
Tucking yourself in, maybe, given the homely thing.
Okay.
Awesome. Where do you want me to go from?
Go from, tell us your name again. Celestina of Truth.
Okay. Celestina of truth, my name is to call. Sempronio for me about doth inquire, and it was told me I should have found him here. Well, I'm sure he will come hither anon, but the whilst I shall tell you a pretty game. I have a wench of Sempronio's.
Oh, yeah.
You have who? You have who?
A wench of Sempronio's.
Oh, right.
You deaf?
Yeah, Ashley. Yeah.
How much?
Oh, bless you, love, bless you. Well, I have this wench of Sempronio's. Did you get that?
Yeah.
Good. You with me? Good. A pretty one, pretty wench.
Wait.
That sojourneth with me. Alicia is her name. Did you get that, love?
Yeah. With you now. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, you just tell me if you need anything. You just come and tell your Aunt Celestina. Where was I now? Oh yeah, Alicia is her name. But the last day we were both nigh a stark shame for Sempronio. Yeah, blimey, mate, you should have been there. For Sempronio would have her to himself several. Do you get my meaning? I see you get my meaning. And she loveth one Crito better, or as well. Now, this Crito and Alicia sat drinking in my house.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, and I also making merry. Woo-hoo-hoo. And as the devil would, far from our thinking, Sempronio almost came on us suddenly.
Oh!
My heart. But then wrought I my craft of bawdry. I had Crito go up and make himself room to hide him in my chamber among the broom. Then I made Alicia sit down sewing, and with my rock began for to spin. And who saith of Semprono we had no knowing? He knocked at the door, and I let him in. And for a countenance, I did begin to catch him in my arms and said, oh, see, who kisseth me, Alicia, and will not kiss thee? Alicia, for a countenance, made her grieved and would not speak, but still did so. Why speak you not? Quod Sempronio. Be ye moved? Had I not cause? Quod she. No, quod he, I trow. Ah, traitor, quod she. Full well thou dost know. Where hast thou been these 3 days from me, that the imposthumes and evil death take thee? Peace, mine Alicia, quod he. Why say thee thus? Alas, why put yourself in this woe? The hot fire of my love so brenneth between us that my heart is yours wherever I go. And for 3 days' absence to say me so, in faith, methinketh ye be to blame. But hark well, for here beginneth the game. Crito, in my chamber above, that was hidden.
Oh yeah, I've forgotten about him. Is he still up there?
He's still up there, love.
Oh, right, right.
He's very, very quiet, and you being deaf, you wouldn't be able to hear him. Don't worry about it. I'll fill you in. I'll fill you in. Crito, in my chamber above that was hidden, I think lay not easily, and began to jumble. Well, Sempronio heard that, and asked, who was within, above in the chamber that so did tumble? You, quod she, a lover of mine. Mayhap ye stumble, quod he, on the truth as many one doth. Go up, quoth she, and look whether it be sooth. Well, quod he, I go. Nay, thought I not so. I said, oh, come, Sempronio, let this fool alone. For of thy long absence she is in such woe, and half beside herself, and her wit nigh gone. Well, quoth he, above yet there is one. Wilt thou know, quod I, sent me by a friar. What friar, quod he? Wilt thou needs know, quod I, then it is the friar from the Benedictine priory yonder. You know, the really fat one with the... Yeah, you know the one. Oh, quod he, what a load hath that woman to bear him. Yea, quod I, though women per case bear heavy duty full oft, yet they gall in no place. Then he laughed. Yea, no, yea, quod I, no more words of this. For this time too long we spend here amiss.
Bum, bum.
Oh God, I love that so much.
Yay! And what a lovely bravura performance of it, Sarah. Fantastic.
Beautiful.
I spent some time playing Nell Gwyn, so I just I got my Nell Gwyn hat back, or my Nell Gwyn corset, I should say, back on.
It is really quite. There's a huge amount of legwork that has to be done to make it clear what's going on.
Yeah.
And really make sure the audience is following you, because otherwise it's too easy to get caught up. And it'll be much easier in a more dynamic physical space, because you can create locations, discrete locations where things are happening. I love the way that Alicia sort of overplays her own hand, and you're the one who has to stop. No. Other thoughts? Anything that maybe we've missed and we'd pick out, Liza?
Well, for the Friar lacuna, that time through, I had an idea that because you never actually find out what happened with Alicia and Sempronio and Crito, the speech needs a punchline of some sort. And the lacuna could be an opportunity for a topical reference. You'd say, you know, "What friar? Wilt thou needs know," quoth I then. It is that great blonde friar called Borissus Johnson.
Yeah, which would tie in really well with the next line, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Going on about
What a load that. Yes, because they're the general thrust of what's going on, and the way, you know. So we're hiding this wench in preparation for this friar who's coming round, you know, or is about. And that's the bit of the plot where again we have to be very. That lacuna doesn't help making it clear what's going on, and yeah, that's a really good call. I like that. Any additional thoughts, Alan?
Yeah, the only thing that I think would need to be clarified in performance is the fact that she's telling the story. Quod he is, or quoth he is very obviously Semprino, but the quod she could be herself, it could be Alicia. And I think that would need to be dealt with within the physical staging.
She tends to refer to herself as quod I think.
But yeah, I think there is that sense you need a dynamic, you know, because Alicia has a very specific location. She's sat doing a sewing. So if you always sort of slightly gesture to there,
quod she,
give her a, as you were doing, that sort of bad mime of that mime everyone does, which doesn't actually put the needle actually through the thing.
Yeah,
just doing that.
Deliberately making it as crap as possible.
Yes.
And the spindle, I'm like, I don't actually know how that works. Like, I'm just gonna like, what is this I'm doing? Playing the double bass? I don't know.
Actually, if you're doing drop spinning, the top hand is static.
Okay.
The bottom is moving. Because I went to a fascinating recreation at Kentwell near us several years ago, probably 15 years ago, thinking about it. And there was a lady who was talking to my young niece, who at the time was primary school. Well, can you spin? No. Well, if you can't spin, how are you ever going to get a husband? So I'll show you how to be a spinster. And that she actually taught them, these couple of kids, how to do a drop spindle.
Cool.
Yes. So we've got an idea of costuming. We've got an idea of the sort of tone that we might go for. I mean, is there anything that we need to fundamentally address or change or tweak, apart from the lacuna we need to sort of fill a gap in? We've got suggestions of what we might do with that. I mean, it doesn't need context because it has nothing really to do with the rest of the plot. Yes, we've met Sempronio and we know he's there looking for her, but none of what you've just said has any bearing on the rest of the play.
Right.
This is just a story she's telling, presumably culled from the book, and of which has a life elsewhere as well. So there is that sort of element.
So is this a scene that's put in to cover a scene change, or a?
I think it's just it's from the book, and it's a way of putting the story in.
Right.
I think it's there's no need for it may be because Sempronio therefore has a bit more time to go off and come back on again, but it's not actually structurally necessary because I think there's already a speech between.
I honestly don't
just a set
think
piece.
You need to do much with this.
No.
Really, I mean, it's funny. As I was reading this, I was thinking, yeah, if I was actually doing this part, by the time you'd actually done all your actory business, like your characterization and you'd action the text and whatnot, which I mean you could absolutely, you don't always maybe want to do that with older plays, but with this one you absolutely would. Those conversations would just ping out. The individual characters would ping out, and I just think it's quite, in a way it's quite not modern exactly, because it's obviously baldy wench character, but I don't know, I think it just reads beautifully.
Because it would make a nice sort of isolated little set piece. I think that's one of the reasons why Greg was quite keen on looking at it, was for that sort of reasoning.
It would make a good audition piece for, I think, for actresses of a certain age.
I wish I'd actually had this when I'd known about this when I was applying to drama school, because it would have been great.
I mean, I'm almost seeing it. Part of the character I was seeing as wife of Bath, who I know was not a bawd specifically, but that sort of quite powerful woman who was taking no prisoners, and partly Babs Windsor.
There is a slightly camp Carry On vibe to it as well, isn't there?
Or maybe Hattie Jakes.
I don't know though, because Hattie Jakes was always the quite sort of ladylike one, wasn't she? In Carry On films. Babs was the one who was always like, yeah, she was the Nell Gwyn. She was always that. Well, she actually was Nell Gwyn, I think, wasn't she? One of them. Oh no,
I'd be amazed if she wasn't.
Yeah.
Okay, so I kind of, we could run that again, but I think we've got the measure of it. Unless anybody else would like a run, who hasn't had a run out and has a different interpretation they'd like to try. No, everyone's quite content. Okay, deathly silence in the room. So there is a mini bit of scene where Sempronio does turn up, which we're not dealing with today because it's just plot. And Celestina is left on stage with Parmino. I'm going to ask Liza to read Celestina. I'll ask Alan to read Parmino to give us a sense of how it's going, and then we'll swap around, and we might run bits of this more than once. We'll see how this goes, because this is a scenette of again, which isn't that interesting. It may mention the main plot, but it isn't that interested in it. So, Celestina, you're on stage with Parmino.
Fabulous. It pleaseth me, Parmino, that we together may speak, whereby thou mayst see I love thee. Yet undeserved now thou comest hither, whereof I care not. But virtue warneth me to flee temptation and follow charity, to do good against ill, and so I rede thee, Sempronio, and I will help thy necessities. And in token that now it shall so be, I pray thee among us let us have a song, for where harmony is, there is amity.
What, an old woman sing?
Why not among? I pray thee no longer the time prolong.
Go to, when thou wilt, I'm ready.
Ooh, shall I begin?
Yea, but take not too high.
And a song is sung.
How say ye now by this, ye little fool? For the third part, Sempronio we must get. After that, thy master shall come to school to sing the fourth part, that his purse shall sweat. For I so craftily the song can set. Though thy master be hoarse, his purse shall sing clear, and taught to solfege that woman's flesh is dear. How sayest thou to this, thou praty Parmino? Thou knowest not the world, nor no delights therein. Dost understand me? In faith, I trow no. Thou art young enough the game to begin. Thy master hath waded himself so far in, and to bring him out lieth not in me, old poor.
Thou shouldst say it lieth not in me, old whore.
Ah, whoreson! A shame take such a knave! How darest thou with me, boy, be so bold?
Because such knowledge of thee I have.
Why, who art?
Parmeno, son to Albert the Old. I dwelt with thee by the river, where wine was sold. And thy mother, I trow, hight Claudena. What a wildfire bren thee, Celestina.
Oh, but thy mother was as old a whore as I. Come hither, thou little fool, let me see thee. Alack, it is even he, by our blessed lady. What, little urchin, hast thou forgotten me? When thou layest at my bed's feet, how merry were we?
Ah, thou old matron, were arms thou were dead, how wouldst thou pluck me up to thy bed's head, and embrace me hard unto thy belly?
Oh.
For thou smellst oddly, I ran from thee.
Ah, shameful whoreson, fie, fie upon thee, fie. Come hither. And now shortly I charge thee that all this foolish speaking thou let be. Leave wantonness of youth, then thou shalt do well. Follow the doctrine of thine elders and counsel, to whom thy parents, on whom souls God have mercy, in pain of cursing bade thee be obedient. In pain whereof I command thee straitly, too much in mastership put not thine intent. No trust is in them if thine own be spent. Masters nowadays covet to bring about all for themselves and let their servants go without. Thy master, men say, and as I think he be, but light carry not who come to his service. Fair words shall not lack, but small rewards, trust me. Make Sempronio thy friend in any wise, for he can handle him in the best guise. Keep this for thy profit, tell it to no one, but look that Sempronio and thou be one.
Mother Celestine, I wot not what ye mean. Calisto is my master, and so I will take him. And as for riches, I defy it clean. For whoever with wrong rich doth make him, sooner than he gat it, it will forsake him. I long love to live in joyful poverty, and to serve my master with truth and honesty.
Truth and honesty be riches of the name, but surety of wealth is to have riches, and after that for to get him good fame. By report of friends this is truth, doubtless, then no such manner friend can I express as Sempronio, for both your profits to speed, which lieth in my hands now, if ye be agreed. Oh, Parmeno, what a life may we endure! Sempronio loveth the daughter of Eliso.
And who, Arusa?
Ah, likest her.
Peradventure?
I shall get her to thee, that shall I do.
Nay, Mother Celestine, I purpose not so. A man should be conversant, I hear tell, with them that be ill and think to do well. Sempronio, his example, shall not make me better nor worse, nor his faults will I hide. But, Mother Celestine, a question to thee. Is not sin anon in one espied, that is drowned in delight? How should he provide against a virtue to save his honesty?
Like a child without wisdom thou answerest me. Without company, mirth can have none estate. Use no sloth, nature abhorreth idleness, which loseth delight to nature appropriate. In sensual causes, delight is chief mistress, specially recounting love's busyness. To say, thus doth she, the time thus they pass, and in such manner they use, and thus they kiss and bass, and thus they meet and embrace together. What speech, what grace, what plays is between them! Where is she? There she goeth! Now let us see whither, now please, now froward, now mum, now hum. Strike up, minstrel, with saws of love the old problem. Sing sweet songs, now jousts and tourney. Of new inventions, what conceits find they? Now she goeth to mass. Tomorrow she cometh out. Behold her better, yonder goeth a cuckold. I left her alone, she cometh. Turn about. Lo, thus, Parmeno, thou mayest behold, friends will talk together as I have told. Wherefore, perceive thou that I say truly, never can delight be without company.
And there we will stop. It's really interesting how that's reading quite differently to how I remember it reading last time.
How did it read last time?
Much, much, much more disturbing.
Well, you know, Liza's classing up the joint here.
Yeah. There was
Clear.
something much more disturbing about the relationship between Celestina and Parmeno.
In a sort of child molesty kind of way.
Yeah. That's very much the vibe I remember from last time. And actually, it doesn't seem to. There is one error in the text that I have just noticed in terms of line attribution, which we'll get to when we go through it again. So we'll go through it bit by bit. in a moment. General thoughts about what's going on here? Because there's sort of lots of things. There is a little bit of intercession of plot getting in the way. You know, she wants Parmino to be her go into man for Sempronio kind of thing. And there's all sorts of things going on. Alan.
One other textual one in Celestina's last speech. In such manner they use, thus they kiss and bass. I think that should be bus.
Well, it's the same word, but you get it spelled with A and U.
Yeah.
The U spelling is actually more common a little bit later. Bass is closer to French baiser or Italian bacio. But it is the same root word. You're right.
Yeah.
And it rhymes. You know, they'll have changed the vowel to make it rhyme.
Vowels do seem to be somewhat movable, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm getting the impression, and I don't know whether this is tied up with the rest of the play, that Parmino is basically a youngster.
Oh yeah.
We're talking about a maybe pre-teen or young teen.
Well, I don't know, because I mean, she doesn't recognise him. So I think he must be in his mid-teens. Maybe he's just suddenly sprouted, and you know, that's why she doesn't, because she knew him as a boy. So.
Well, I get the impression she acted as his babysitter or childminder.
Yeah, after his parents died. But the other question is, how old is Celestina? Maybe he's in his 20s, and you know, everyone under 30 looks like a boy to her, possibly.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
And vice versa. I mean, you know, he's not very nice to her, shall we say, in his you know, it's that kind of thing. You know, does Parmino have little hang-ups? Possibly. It's interesting. Celestina seems to be trying to teach him ways of the world to a degree, and so there's all sorts of things to mind there. Other thoughts?
I found myself, I mean, that was a cold read, and I wish that I had read it ahead, because there's so much potential in that last speech for physical business, for and I think there must be, you know, at least gesture, if not outright choreography there.
Outright groping.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, like it can get. There's a spectrum of porny that it can get from moderate to quite.
Yeah. I think we can go there. I think the text is pushing us to a degree in that direction. Though I say considerably less than I remember it. So I remember as being quite disturbed last time. But maybe it was just the way you tell them.
Well, it was Greg last time, wasn't it?
Well, I think I was probably going. Yeah, well, exactly. I think I was probably doing a lot. I haven't watched it back, so I just couldn't face watching myself again.
You were great. You should watch it.
No. But I remember I probably was doing a lot of nod, wink, nod. But yeah.
Well, that's the question, you know, because, you know, if it works, one's happy to go with it. But there is a question of, is the text actually pushing us that way, or are we just being dirty?
Oh, I think it's there.
I was probably in a filthy mood that.
Yeah.
I know we don't have time and we should move forward. I'd appreciate at some point, maybe not today, maybe in the future, I'd love another go at that.
Well, no, I'm quite happy because we're going to go over this again. We'll do this. We'll switch the switch round for now, but we can come back again. I'm thinking happy to continue playing with this sequence. That was just the first read.
I mean, we can do that today, or I can take some time and prepare it, and we can do another workshop, like sometime.
Yeah, we could. Oh, there's another thought, but I'll do that. I'll mention that out of session. So there's lots of potential for this. So but anyway, let's go back through this scene again. So this time, Sarah, if you'd like to be, or anyone, would Greg? Would you like to go for Celestina again, or Alan? Would you like a crack?
I'm happy, whatever. I'm happy to do it again, but yeah.
Well, I want to have a go at it as well, so I don't
mind.
mind.
Go for it. Absolutely. I've already had the.
We both can.
I've already had the pleasure of this scene already, so Sarah, go for it. Enjoy.
So, well, in that case, let's go for Sarah, Celestina, and Greg if you want to be Parmino. So
let's go the other way then.
Yeah, we'll stop and start. So let's just do the opening. the opening gambit, which isn't possibly that interesting because it's a bit too plotty. And Parmino has just said some dialogue that I probably should have given you, but don't worry about it. Celestina, let's treat this as a warm-up, this little sectionette.
It pleaseth me, Parmino, that we together may speak, whereby thou mayst see I love thee. Yet undeserved now thou comest hither, whereof I care not. But virtue warneth me to flee temptation and follow charity.
Okay, there's room that I really like that. But there's room for that. You know, are you just saying I could go for someone better than you, but I'm being charitable?
Yeah.
Or I'm hard up and it's a hard week.
Yeah. It's just you know, and I like that. Yeah, that there's something quite because you need him. There is a motivation for you doing this. It may not be genuine desire, but
no, God, no, I don't think so. I think it's all just kind of like yes.
It's ulterior motive.
It's definitely ulterior motives.
Okay, so let's make that worse.
Okay.
To make him feel as uncomfortable as possible. Greg, just do the reactions of terror.
I
You're
can't.
young, a callow youth. You've never, you know, done anything.
Vamped.
I can't. Sadly, I can't terrify you with my cleavage over Zoom because I did a lot of that as El Gwyn. Like,
well, you could, but I might have.
I'm not going to because
the
we'll
video
probably
might
get
be taken down for community standards.
Yeah, but you just have to, imagine it in your mind, Greg, or maybe not.
No, please.
Just as a quick side note, I thought I wasn't going to actually say this in public, but what the hell? Celestina's opening lines. Now that same blessing that Our Lady gave her son, I give to you all. Like if it's a male-bodied actor, what he could come on with his dress undone and a giant pair of comedy breasts, with like ones that you could squeeze and water would come out and you could like spray the audience. And then you could like adjust and do yourself up. Excuse me, I'm thus homely.
that was roughly where I was going with my comments in the previous one.
That takes the literalness of the blessing that Our Lady gave her son. I think that's fabulous. I think it's obscene. I'm delighted you shared it with me.
I'm signed up. Yes.
Greg's already making notes.
Or plans.
Yes.
Was it Katy Perry who had in the music video the squirty cream bra thing?
I don't remember. I know when she was dating Russell Brand, he sent her a poem and said, "Send me a poem back." So she just like lifted up her top and took a selfie and sent it back to him with the word poem, which I thought was funny.
I love her.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Anyway, pulling it back to the play. Okay, Celestina, creep the hell out of Greg.
It pleaseth me, Parmino, that we together may speak.
Oh.
For whereby thou mayst see I love thee. Yet undeservest now thou come hither, whereof I care not, but virtue warneth me to flee temptation and follow charity, to do good against ill, and so I rede thee. Sempronio and I will help thy necessities, and in token now that it shall be so, I pray thee, among us, let us have a song. For where is harmony, there is amity.
What? An old woman sing?
Why not among? I pray thee, no longer the time prolong.
Go to when thou wilt, I am ready.
Shall I begin?
Yeah. but take not too high.
And singing occurs, and yeah, I'd really like to know what the song was. I think we have taken this to the absolute extreme because, you know, when you're talking about love thee, doesn't have to mean literally, you know, it could just be, you know, in my affection within, you know, we're here to help you and give you a leg up because you are the friend of Sempronio, etc. So this is very much the extreme edge of where we push this scene, but I like extreme edges and it's fun. Yeah. Other thoughts about what we've just done, because we're not going over that bit again. Alan.
Just a textual question. Undeserved in that context. I wonder whether there's a change in meaning over time. Yet undeserved now that comes hither.
Seems to make sense in a modern sense. I don't.
Do you think it should be underserved? Do you think there's an R missing, underserved? Like, because that could be then
unheralded or something like that. I could understand, but it just doesn't seem to fit with me in use of language.
Is she not just saying though, like, I am prepared to bestow all my bounty on you, and you don't deserve it?
Yeah, that's what I'm taking from it.
That may be a possibility. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of changes back and forth in those two lines. Ultimately the message is, "Come here, and I want to talk to you." But whereby thou mayst see I love you. Now, yet undeserved. Now thou comest hither, whereof I care not. But
she's teasing. She's teasing him, isn't she? She's sort of, it's that push me, pull you thing of like, oh, come here, no, go away. Oh, come here.
Okay. Additional thoughts before we? So song occurs, and what state is Parmino in at the end of this? Who knows? So yes, we're about to come to the textual error, but we'll move forward. So
halfway out the theatre, if it was.
Parmino seems to have a lot of hang-ups, and there are problems with what he says, but with the sort of context questions. Celestina, let's how say you now? Finish your song.
How say you now by this, little young fool? The third part, Sempronio, we must get. After that, thy master shall come to school to sing the fourth part, that his purse shall sweat. For I see craftily the song can set.
And this is actually where the absence of the song seems to me important, because it's talking about first and second, something that's happened in the song.
Well, I'm kind of imagining that it would be like a duet and then other parts, and then she'd be maybe in the song having business with him saying, oh, you do that bit, you do that bit. And he's like, no, I don't want to. Or, something like that.
Yeah.
Because it's embarrassing.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it ends up being they both sing to each other by the end of it. Yeah,
it might be that, or it might be a counting song.
Mm-hmm.
2 Spanish dildos, 4 farthingales, whatever.
I think, but it's for the third part, Sempronio and thy master shall to sing the fourth part. So it sounds like it's a harmony thing. So it may be that he doesn't have to sing a different verse; he's just singing in harmony with you at the end of the song. Maybe just simply to close it off.
Yeah,
or it could be
SATB,
or it could be a canon, like a catch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that could work in 2 parts, or in 3, or in 4.
Yeah,
there were a lot of filthy catches that worked with like word layering. So that no one person said a filthy thing, but the layering of words makes the film.
Nice. I like that.
I mean, the number that was coming to my mind was Swarbrick's version of Cuckoo's Nest on the 14th of May at the dawn of the day, which you may or may not know.
I do love Fairport, but I can't recall that one.
Oh, go search for it. You'll enjoy it.
Will do.
It was swore, but he's least subtle.
Yeah. Okay. So so that feels like the structure of the song is important to what you're saying now. So that's actually that's something we need to think about in performance. And why you've drawn him in, I think, a little bit with your song as well. That maybe if he's a willing participant, maybe you sing so beautifully, you've lulled. Maybe it's more you've lulled him in.
There's complicity now. I'd like to say a wording thing. I think for I see craftily the song can set. I think that may be for I so craftily. And who knows, maybe she's Scottish. Maybe it's for I say craftily the song can set. But who knows? I mean,
it does work.
Oh, it is. No, you're absolutely well called, and you win the prize.
Hey.
It is so. It literally is so
craftily. So is it as an SO or?
Yes.
Yeah.
I would think.
Right, so craftily the song can set, and it should be a comma at the end of there as well, rather than full stop. Looks like I haven't done quite as much catch up on the rest of the text. I know I went through the opening speech in quite a lot of detail.
I'm not sure what solve means in this context, but a really tempting reading would be solve like dissolve or something, because brothels were places where there was hot water and they were called stews. So they served stewed fruit, and you went there, like ostensibly they were bathhouses. You went there to get clean, but there was like another person in the bath. So his purse shall sweat, though thy master be hoarse, his purse shall sing clear, maybe because of breathing the steam.
Sing sol fa.
Ah, right. That's another. That's the one I initially thought, as in solfeggio. Excellent. And taught to sing sol fa, that woman's flesh is dear. Nice.
You see, that's why we come back, so that we can do this work.
In the following line, would pretty Parmeno work better than pretty?
Pretty is one of those textual variants on pretty. I mean, it means pretty, but he's my pretty Parmeno.
I thought, is it pretty or is it pretty, as in he talks a lot? But I think pretty is probably better and easier.
He's not really doing a lot of talking either, bless him. I mean, he's not getting a word in edgewise.
Much chance, is he?
Get a word in edgewise.
I mean, I just like the sound of Pratty. But it doesn't actually fundamentally matter.
I like it too. And original spelling sometimes gives you a hint as to dialect or pronunciation.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just a printer who was high on ergot, but sometimes it's...
Well, when we last read this, for example, in the opening Celestina speech, for some reason someone had semi-modernized quad to quote, which, is a sort of weird semi-modernization, because it's not really modern, it's just a slightly later variant, rather than just, quote, and said. It's very, very weird. Anyway, let's start that speech again. As we've done that deep dive on bits of it.
Before we begin, I don't know how far we're going, where you're going to stop, but if we get through to the bit where he says about how he's the son of Albert the Old, I'm going to change my performance completely there.
Well, I'm going to, in that case, we will get down to that, but I will tell you there is an error of attribution. So after you say where wine was sold, Parmeno says where wine was sold. The line "and thy mother" is Celestina's, and the line after that is Parmeno's.
Ah, right. Okay, so
and you'll find that suddenly makes sense, whereas it didn't before.
Nice.
I've changed it, ready.
I can't remember if I picked that up last time or not, and whether I'm just repeating my failings to actually update the text based on the previous work we've done, or whether I just keep doing it every single time. We'll probably go a little beyond there.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, how say you now? Seduce him in a less aggressive way.
Less aggressive way.
Yeah, I think let's make this sweet.
Say ye now by this, little young fool? For the third part, Sempronio we must get. After that, thy master shall come to school to sing the fourth part, that his purse shall sweat. For I so craftily the song can set, though thy master be hoarse, his purse shall sing clear, and taught to solve that woman's flesh is dear. How sayst to this, thou pretty Parmeno? Thou knowest not the world, nor no delights therein. Dost understand me? In faith, I trow no. Thou art young enough the game to begin. Thy master hath waded himself so far in, and to bring him out lieth not in me, old, poor. Oh, poor.
Thou should say it lieth not in me, old whore.
Yeah, and I think we should talk about Parmeno's reaction here, and the aggressiveness of his response, because it seems to be that you are pushing buttons here. That you're going, you're young and inexperienced, aren't you? And he's getting really uncomfortable. And even if you're not actually all over him, just simply by pushing that button, and he has this sort of quite nasty knee-jerk response of wounded male pride kind of thing. I think that's quite nice. Yes, the timing on that's really vital, because I don't think old poor can be the end of the sentence. It is the logic is the sentence will be continuing, and he just jumps in, or leaps away. Maybe if you're sat down together on a cozy banquette. At this point, he escapes. Go from how sayest to this, thou pretty Parmeno. So like you're just going, oh bless.
Yeah.
He doesn't know what sex is.
How sayest to this, thou pretty Parmeno? Thou knowest not the world, nor no delights therein. Dost thou understand me? In faith, I trow no. Thou art young enough the game to begin. Thy master hath waded himself so far in, and to bring him out lieth not in me. Oh,
thou should say it lieth not in me, old whore.
Oh, Musson, a shame take such a name. How darest thou with me, thou boy, be so bold?
Because such knowledge as thee I have.
Why? Who art?
Parmeno, son to Albert the Old, I dwelt but with thee by the river where wine was sold.
Ah, mother, I trow, hi Claudina.
That a word for Brendy, Celestina.
Thy mother was as old a whore as I. Oh, come hither, thou little fool, let me see thee. Ah, it is even he, by our blessed lady.
Oh.
What little urchin. Oh, hast thou forgotten me? When thou layest at my bed's feet, oh, how merry we were.
Oh, thou old matron, it were alms thou wert dead. How wouldst thou pluck me up to thy bed's head, and embrace me hard onto thy belly? And for thou smelt oldly, I ran from thee.
Oh, a shameful horse, and fie upon thee, fie. Oh,
and we're just going to pause there because there's so many psychosexual questions here going on. Because it's maybe Parmeno's hang-ups are related. Maybe Parmeno, we should talk about your mother.
Oh dear.
Because he seems to have serious hang-ups here, that are connected to the both of you. And I love the way Celestina's sort of attitude changes, and now the seduction element completely disappears, and it just goes, "Oh, it's you!" Oh, yeah. But then there's that, and I think it's the danger is, of course, putting a modern interpretation of lying in bed and embracing. For all we know, you were just using him as a hot water bottle. And lying in the same bed is not unusual. But we can still also go down the psychosexual route of that you are a terrifying abuser of people.
Well, one thing that occurred to me as I was doing it was that actually, once she changes and she's kind of no longer treating him as a sexual object, I think she probably actually starts molesting him more. Like, I was wanting to kind of, do your cheeks and do your nose and hug you and like throw my arms around you and like do all this stuff, which actually for him, he'd probably be even more uncomfortable with than he was with the other earlier stuff. It's like a different form of discomfort, but it's just as awful for him, if that makes sense. Like,
it seems like the kind of disgust that, like, when you're 5 years old and you're told to kiss grandma.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like
with a healthy side dose of there's an aspect of culture that finds sexuality in older women disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, it's the way Parmino says. I mean, landing on the line, "Thou smellst oldly." And that, I did check that it is oldly, and there's something about that from a child's perspective, age has a smell, or different ages have different smells. And the way children pick up on that as well. That's a very adult smell over there. That's a very adult thing. This is potentially disturbing for him. Poor Parmino. I mean, I feel like we've got him on sodding psychiatrist's couch at the moment. Alan, your hand's up, been up for a while.
Yeah, I must admit, I thought a bit of business at that point would be that she licks the corner of a handkerchief to take a spot of his cheek. Which would be a very babysitterish aunt type thing, wouldn't it?
And also that kind of thing that when you're a kid makes you go,
get away from me.
Just another word thing that in this era, the belly of a woman was much more sexualized than it is now. You could. It's basically like she clasped into her crotch or like her womb or something.
Okay, right, good to know.
Right, so a bit of frottage is at least going on.
Things I do for Tid.
This is much more where we left it last time. You see, this was where I thought we were going, and it was. I don't know if I'm glad we're going here again.
I feel it. I'm now beginning to see where we came to in this. Yeah, no, it's quite disturbing. I don't know. This is maybe too literal, but that line about the hard stomach, was it, or something about hard? He says something about hard.
I thought,
embrace me hard into thy belly. Yeah, like
and I almost had visions of him being there when she was, another unwanted pregnancy for some reason, which was a bit too much, but it was just something, because they would have done probably, even depending on how old she was at that point. Yes, I mean, definition of old again. She might not be actually, in real terms, that old. It's not like it's just older than Parmino, and in his youthful eyes, anyone above 25 is old.
No, I can imagine her being, well, I mean, I'm saying this because I like the part, but I can imagine her being my age. So, because I'm 48, and I reckon like 48 then was probably at death's door, especially if you were like a teenager. I mean, 48 is pretty much at death's door now when you're a teenager. So back then it must have been like grandmotherly.
I think you could even work it with 15 and 30.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is actually, so long as there is a differential, and it's his youth, it's his problem ultimately we're talking about here. He's he's got a lot of hang-ups as Parmino. I'm feeling we should do a psychiatrist chair job with Paul Parmino, actually. Tell us about your childhood.
You are going to need two after this, I'll tell you.
Fried chicken with everything.
Okay, so let's go forward with the next little sequence. It's going to, I think, move a bit more towards I don't know where it's going to go precisely. So let's. He's been very rude about you. So we'll go from you, shameful. Shame. Oh, how dare he malign your noble profession.
Oh, shameful whoreson! Fie upon thee! Fie! Fie! Come hither. And now shortly I charge thee that all this foolish speaking thou let be. Leave wantonness of youth. Then shalt thou do well. Follow the doctrine of thy elders and counsel, to whom thy parents, on whose souls God have mercy, in pain of cursing, bade thee be obedient. In pain whereof I command thee straightly, too much in mastership put not thine intent. No trust is in them, if thine own be spent. Masters nowadays covet to bring about all for themselves, and let their servants go without. Thy master, men say, and I think he be, but light care I not who comes to his service. Their words shall not lack, but small rewards. Trust me, make Sempronio thy friend in any wise, for he can handle him in the best guise. Keep this, and for thy profit, tell it to none. But look that Sempronio, and thou be one.
It's interesting here. It's like she does another volte-face of going, well, let's forget all about that potential, leave wantonness of youth. Let's forget about all the potential crimes. And she becomes quite controlling and quite. I wrote school teacher, but maybe that's too. But it's just it becomes very commanding.
Yeah. I think it's
be obedient. I command thee. Don't be. Too much mastership. Put not thine intent. Don't be in charge. I'll do the thinking for you.
Yeah.
So it's again. She's very mercurial. She keeps trying different approaches to get what she wants.
I was going to say. I think she's just playing him different ways. And I can't really quite remember, but I think later on in this scene, she decides that that's not working either. So then she tries to treat him more of like, oh, well, we are co-conspirators and you're the man now. So you need to, I think she's just trying any which way she can to sort of get him on side, which I mean is, sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, it's just, you're follow the doctrine of thy elders and counsel. So it's like he said, you're old, and you go, well, then listen to your elders.
Yeah.
She just keeps leaning into whichever thing she thinks is going to work.
Whatever he says, she then reflects back to him in a different way that suits her own purpose. And I was just going to say again, this is another reason why, if you were going to action this as an actor, it would be so juicy, because her actions, her motivation her motivation isn't changing, but the way she delivers it is just changing constantly. She is just like turning on a sixpence over and over again. Just whatever he gives her, she is giving back to him. It's just fascinating.
Yeah, and Parmino made a mistake in telling you who he was, because now you can go, well, you're dead. Your parents are dead.
Yeah.
So listen to me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really messing him up. The poor so and so. And it's interesting. The next line, what does he say? It's no longer old woman, old whore. It's Mother Celestina.
She's got it.
Yeah. So that's your job in this speech is to turn him into your servant, in which could in Stace's play could work quite weirdly. It's sort of a bit dominant, submissive. This turnaround here, I don't know. So yeah, it's quite a tricky speech. There's a lot to do from the beginning to the end.
Yeah, there's a major shift change, and
it might be from that first line, a shameful horseman. It's almost like you maybe even hit him.
Yeah, I mean, the way I was playing it was like she was saying that in quite a like a mock outraged way, like a playful way, and still kind of, you know, kind of trying to lure him in that way. But actually, yeah, I mean, she could just totally turn there and become quite aggressive.
Because if it's, you know, a shameful horse and fie upon thee, fie hits him, he cowers away, and then come hither.
Yeah.
You know, you can't get away from me, and you just push him down.
And like, play it with like almost like with a mental whip in one hand. Yeah.
Lots of options there. Any Liza?
Or just the roughness of someone who's dealt out tough love all her life.
Do you want to have another crack at that speech?
Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine by me. Greg, if you want to, react at all, and see if there's anything you can do that will is difficult in this variated forum, but let's see how that goes.
A shameful whoreson, son! Fie upon thee! Fie! Come hither. And now, shortly I charge thee that all this foolish speaking thou let be. Leave wantonness of youth, then thou shalt do well. Follow the doctrine of thy elders and counsel, to whom thy parents, on whose souls God have mercy, in pain of cursing bade thee be obedient. In pain whereof I command thee straitly, too much in mastership, put not thine intent. No trust is in them, if thine own be spent. Masters nowadays covet to bring about all for themselves, and let their servants go without. Thy master, men say, and as I think he be, but light care I not, I care I not, who come to his service, fair words shall not lack, but small rewards. Trust me. Make Sempronio thy friend in any wise, for he can handle him in the best guise. Keep this, and for thy profit, tell it to none. But look that Sempronio and thou be one.
Mother Celestine, what ye mean? Calisto is my master, and so I will take him. And as for riches, I defy it clean. For whosoever with wrong rich doth make him, sooner than he get it, it will forsake him. I love to live in joyful poverty, and to serve my master with truth and honesty.
Truth and honesty be riches of the name. But surety of wealth is to have riches, and after that for to get him good fame. By report of friends, this is truth, doubtless. Then no such manner friend can I express as Sempronio, but both your profits to speed, which lieth in my hands now, if you be agreed. Oh, Parmino, what a life we may endure. Sempronio loveth the daughter of Liza.
And who? Arusa?
Likest her?
Peradventure.
Ah, I shall get her to thee. That shall I do.
Okay, just pause there. I'm assuming this is a Freudian slip, that he's misheard her say Aliso and goes, oh, what, Aruso? And she goes, oh,
Yeah.
do you like her? Because we've returned to Carrot. She's done Stick and she's back to Carrot. And I'm just there's that little bit there that Parmino does like people. Does have interests. I don't know if that's a misreading, by the way. I'm just it's a tricky little one because there's not much evidence as to what's precisely going on. Alan.
I was just thinking, actually, it could be that there are actually more than one daughter of Eliso. One being the wench who featured in the first scene, and Arusa being a younger sibling, maybe.
The problem is these are all characters who do not appear.
Yeah.
you know, they are just people mentioned in passing. It could be that he just that he likes the other sister. There is no data except from the original source, which we'd have to go back to on that. That might be a research thing to talk about. I'll just see if there's any footnotes. Liza, do you have any thoughts there? You're muted at the moment. I didn't know if you wanted to jump in.
I am muted. Yeah, but I don't have anything of substance to say right now. Savor the moment, guys.
So yeah, any additional thoughts? I'm not too worried about going back over that material because it's very plot orientated. It's much less psychological. You know, there is stuff there to dig out, but I don't think that's what we need for this session. So let's just go on to the final road. Let's go, Celestina. I shall get her to thee. Be as Celestina-y as you can with that line.
Okay.
It's my helpful directorial note for you.
Thank you.
Be a bit like your character. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I shall get her to thee. That shall I do.
Nay, Mother Celestina, I purpose not so. Man should be conversant, I hear tell, with them that be ill and think to do well. Sempronio, his ensample, shall not make me better nor worse, nor his faults will I hide. But, Mother Celestine, a question to thee. Is not sin anon in one espied? That is drowned in delight, how should he provide against virtue to save his honesty?
Oh, like a child without wisdom, thou answerest me. Without company, mirth can have none estate, use no sloth, nature abhorreth idleness, which leaveth delight to nature appropriate. In sensual causes, delight is chief mistress, specially recounting love's business. To say thus doth she, the time thus they pass, and such manner they use, and thus they kiss and vows, and thus they meet and embrace together. What speech, what grace, what plays is between them. Where is she? There she goeth. Let us see whither. Now please, now forward, now mum, now strike up, minstrel, with saws of love, the old problem. Sing sweet songs. Now Joyce and Turney. Of new inventions, what conceits find they? Now she goes to mass. The morrow she cometh out. Behold her better. Yonder goeth a cuckold. I left her alone, she cometh. Turn about. Lo, thus, Parmeno, thou mayest behold friends will talk together, as I have told. Wherefore, perceive thou that I say truly, never can be delight without company.
There's something really interesting because it's like Parmeno's asking the question. I know Sempronio. His example is a good one, and that or at least not bad. And then you sort of, Celestina, are you a bad person? Are we the bad guys? And then you sort of have to justify what you're doing. And it's in that nature of you can't have fun without other people.
Yeah. It's no defense at all, really. It's hilarious. She just kind of takes the conversation and says, oh, I don't like the way that's going. Let's take it over here.
It's really interesting that Parmeno asked the question of just basically, are you a bad person? Because it's like he's totally lost by this point. Yeah. I'm feeling the Dom sub quality here really quite hard. It's, there's something really quite he feels quite lost at this point.
Yeah, and I loved the way as well Greg played him, because he went from being all kind of roar to like whoa. It was really good.
Yes, I do like that Parmeno is like, after she offers to get him the girl that he liketh peradventure, he's like, okay, but would that be a sin? Like, am I going to hell for this? Asking Celestina, of all people, what a sin is. And of course we draw, I don't know if we've said this session, but she's very ironically named, isn't she?
Yeah, heavenly creature.
Well, you know, so long as the money lasts, it's a heavenly experience.
Hashtag capitalism.
Yes.
Oh no.
It's yeah, is not sin a non in one espied? Can I not see sin in you? It's and it's just that you just don't understand, do you? Do you, little child? Right. Would anyone else like another? I'd like to go over that final speech again, but would anyone else like to have a crack at that final speech instead? So we stop and start, because I want to unpack it a bit.
Yeah, it's been, I will say, it's been very interesting playing that scene from the other side. Because Celestina was such in my head that actually I almost, by the end of it, I felt that I'd want to make Palmino a sort of simpleton, almost. A little bit of that sort of, maybe not all there, but yeah, anyway, happily do it.
At the moment, I think he's just traumatized.
I am after that.
Sorry.
Alan.
You need the cushion.
I think I'm actually revising downward my page estimate for Palmino, and I'm going to put him at probably 12.
Oh, wow.
You know, because he is a bit of a wide-eyed innocent. You've got the comments about, well, you know, I'm employed by so-and-so, so I'm going to do my best for him. He's not worldly wise in any way whatsoever.
Oh, he is a callow youth. I think he needs to be on the borderline of puberty, at least,
so
if not a little higher.
12, 13, I think, would be probably for period about right.
And it wouldn't be the only play we've got where there is a slightly weird and warped, much older woman, much younger person crossover going on, where there's something potentially disturbing, unless again we're reading too much into it and this is all actually perfectly fine and innocent and, you know, working not on this level. I
think there is an element of something there. Like, it can't be anything else. There's too much in the text.
Well, I think Celestina, by inclination and profession, vamps anybody who comes within range. You know, that's how she's made a living.
Yeah, and I mean, also that first speech, I mean, I don't know where that comes in the play, but surely the function of that speech, because it is sort of quite standalone in a way, but it's to set up her character very, very clearly, so no one's in any doubt about who she is. So then that kind of lends itself to taking it further in this next scene. I mean, otherwise, why have that speech at the beginning?
It was
why introduce it in such a way?
It's a way in, if I remember. It's not. It's not particularly sort of in the beginning. I seem to remember
it's
it was
about a third. It's about a third. It's 300 lines in of a 300 lines in of a 1,000 line play. Yeah. So it's slightly under a third. And you know, she remains quite dominant throughout until the last sort of quarter or so of the play. So, you know, she does have quite a bit to do here. You know, it's not like she's just introduced to move, you know, as a plot device or something. She is actually a driver of elements of this plot in quite an active way.
She's reminding me a little bit of Chaucer, Troilus and Cressida. What's he called?
Pandarus.
Pandarus, yeah.
There is a direct line. I mean, Pandarus isn't a professional pander, but he is a pander by nature.
He's the uncle, isn't he?
He's the uncle.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I mean, in Chaucer, of course, Cressida is a widow. But she's, and what Pandarus is trying to do isn't necessarily prostitution as such. He's just trying to get her together with someone.
Yeah.
But there is a direct line to how those two characters are written, and I think you're right to highlight that.
And he does, from what I remember, I mean, I haven't done it since uni, but like he does use some of the language that she uses reminds me a bit of, like, you know, he's although he's like a highborn character, he is quite earthy, I seem to recall.
Yes. And in later adaptations, risking the duck, even earthier. But
and you were doing so well.
Thank you, Liza, because I nearly got in there with that.
Get out of there quickly.
I'm going to close this down by saying I once played a panda. It was a silent panda.
Was it black and white?
Yeah. It was in a panto. It was
that well-known bit of Noah, I thought. Maybe.
No, it was one of my favorite roles. Actually, it was a silent panda. I didn't have to learn any lines, and I just got to upstage everyone. It was fab. I made my own panda costume. It was great.
Did you get to chew on bamboo?
I don't know if I did that. I should have done that because I could have done a whole Noel Coward long cigarette holder sort of bamboo thing.
With the bamboo. Yeah, you could.
Oh, damn.
Mate, next time I play a panda.
I don't know. I think some of the children found it. I think some of the children found my performance terrifying, but you know, it was fine. I didn't care.
That says a lot about your acting skills. It takes I think probably a truly great actor like Olivier level to terrify people as a panda.
To be fair, I think the nature of the costume lent it, because basically I bought a cuddly toy panda, gutted its head to make myself a thing. Then everything else was sort of black and white, and then I just wore a black and white suit.
Okay, yeah,
and things
that is quite sinister.
Yeah, it was. I got to sing as well. It was great.
You said it was mute.
Yeah, apart from the song. He's
maybe we should bring that back as a live stream. I'm sure you would get all kinds of viewers.
Yeah.
I could put feelers out into the furry community if you wanted.
I have to say, I am now approaching the age where the song I sung would be appropriate, because it was Nobody Loves a Panda When He's 40.
Oh, that's a great song, the originals.
Yes. But I won't sing it now, because otherwise we'll get into YouTube problems.
Yes.
We'll suddenly end up with paid advert things.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're running towards the end of the session. We're meant to be doing this play, so let's do some of that.
Okay. I love these workshops.
Yes. Greg.
Quality content. That's what I come here for.
Yeah. Greg, so your final speech of Celestina, you're going to have compose yourself. Liza, could you actually give him the run-in as Parmino, please?
All of it?
Yeah. Why not? Let's give Greg a chance to get into the role. And feel it. So Celestina has promised you something very exciting.
Nay, Mother Celestine, I purpose not so. A man should be conversant, I hear tell, with them that be ill, and think to do well. Sempronio, his example, shall not make me better or worse, nor his faults will I hide. But, Mother Celestine, a question unto thee. Is not sin anon in one espied, that is drowned in delight? How should he provide, that is drowned in delight, how should he provide against virtue to save his honesty?
Like a child without wisdom, thou answerest me. Without company, mirth can have none estate, use no sloth. Nature abhorreth idleness. Where lesseth delight to nature appropriate, in consensual cases delight is chief mistress, especially recounting love's business. To say thus doth she, the time thus they pass, and such manner they use, and thus they kiss and bass, and thus they meet and embrace together. What speech, what Grace, what plagues is between them? Where is she? She goeth. Let us see whither. Let us see whither. Now, pleased. Now, froward. Now, mum. Now, strike up, minstrel, with saws of love, the old problem. Sing sweet songs. Now, jests and tournay of new inventions. What conceits find they? Now she goeth to mass. Tomorrow she cometh out. Behold her better. Yonder goeth a cuckold. I left her alone. She cometh. Turn about. Lo, thus Parmena thou mayest behold. Wherefore perceive thou that I say truly, never can be delight without company.
Lovely. I say lovely. It was quite sinister.
Now I understand why we were so disturbed last time, because it's probably roughly how I played it.
Well, one of the questions shall we say, the research question that we had in mind when we started, which has sort of gone a little by the by, was, the appropriateness or the lack of appropriateness of whether we do a sort of panto dame style performance with a man in a dress, or whether it's a female performer makes more sense. And I don't know if we've actually even touched on that question seriously.
I mean, I thought Greg had there was some marvelous Mrs. Slocum moments there that I just think, could work so well. Yeah.
It's a hard one. Though I dearly love this part and have loved it since I did it, I think it would work better with a lady. It's hard to let go of it, but having seen some amazing performances this afternoon, I think it has to be a lady. I think you can combine elements of the Mrs. Slocum in there.
I do believe Mrs. Slocum was performed.
Yes, sorry, I meant that. I meant that as if you could have elements of the Mrs. Slocum or Les Dawson or whatever you want to use.
Yeah.
But, she's a wonderful part. Still.
She's a fantastic part. I mean, I have to say, speaking here as an older female actor, it's like you don't get that many parts like this, like for women. Usually when you get female roles, they tend to be younger anyway, and then so there actually be a part like this. I mean, I had no idea. I obviously missed this when you read it the first time. Was it an evening?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But I mean, this is just corking, and I mean, this is the sort of part that like an actress of my age like lives for, because it's like they're so few and far between. It's like, yes, finally get in there.
It's interesting because the scene we haven't done yet is also between her and Melebea. So there's an older, younger woman dialogue that's going to happen that we'll look at.
So that's an interesting dynamic as well, because
there's still quite a lot more. There's a good. We've only done slightly under half of her text, and there's some text I didn't even put in the document because it was too involved with the rest of the plot. Not a lot. I just did these isolated scenes. What I really like is the fact that Parmena, who does come across as a bit misogynistic, then gets completely put in his place really, really quickly. And I think it diffuses one of those problems that you will get in plays around the 1520s, where they are a bit blokey at times, in a quite unpleasant way sometimes. And I really quite like that element of the text actually is worked into what Celestina then does. Doesn't mean it's not unproblematic, but it has enough life to it.
Yeah, it's kind of worked out through the actual characterization, the dynamic between them. Who wrote this?
We don't know. I mean, it might be. It was from the press of John Rastall. It might, he may have commissioned it. He may even, have written it. I don't think anyone goes quite that far.
And the problem is that it's unfinished, right?
No,
incomplete. It may be finished, but we don't have the rest.
No, I think it's
No, we've got it.
fairly certain it's complete. I don't think it's got a lacuna or anything at the end.
No, I vaguely
ending.
remember it does. Yeah.
Yeah, you're thinking of the Four Elements, probably.
Well,
That definitely doesn't have an ending.
I
It doesn't do the whole book. It only does a percentage of the book, and it doesn't have a desperately good ending, but it is complete.
I remember the that's it feeling at the
Yeah.
end when we read it.
Because the book has so many other incidents that are really exciting that someone had actually spent 2 minutes looking on Wikipedia to find out what actually else happened. So we got a précis of some other material. But yeah, it's... well, the thing is, we've got overlaps with other texts as well. I mean, that opening speech is quite... That story about the husband comes home or the lover comes home and the other person has to be put in the cupboard. Is reiterated to a degree in Beware the Cat, which is a novel slightly later. It came to mind the moment Liza's cat appeared. There we are. Beware the Cat.
Look at that face.
And the story there is the cat deliberate, because the owner's being a bit arsey with her, I think, deliberately starts making a noise in the cupboard where the naked man is hiding. And then scratches her mistress quite unpleasantly underneath her skirt, shall we say?
That sounds hilarious. Who's that boy?
I should know that because I've done it. William Baldwin. It's a book from It was conceived around 1553, but it doesn't get published until 58 onwards because it's Beware the Cat. Beware the Catholic. And so it had to lay fallow for several years until Mary left the throne.
The first English novel. How have I never heard of this?
I did live stream readings of this a while ago. They're a little patchy because they were quite rushed. But there's a lot of material here that is reused. There's a lot of material. The Dame Serif stuff that I mentioned earlier is also reused, but instead of a dog, it's now a cat. So there's a whole thing. But yeah, it's a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde bit when he tries to learn cat and he has to take a potion that makes him really sick. There's some great stuff in it, and is a text I want to go back to. Though it is a bit problematic because it is really anti-Catholic in the sort of John Bailey kind of style of really obsessively, very, very unpleasant in places. Anyway, we've very much gone on a tangent there. Any final thoughts about Celestina? We don't really have time to go into the rest, and I'm going to go into final thoughts before we wrap up. Any sort of... Unless anyone wants to have another crack at any material, but I think we're going to definitely come back to Celestina for the rest of her material, so we can always come back to some of the other speeches. So any hopes or aspirations for what we do with her in the future?
I want to play her.
I'll fight you for her then.
Well, I will audition. If you ever do it, I will audition.
No, there's a company system for when two people want the same part. There is a system. You have to fight for it.
Right.
Literally, there is a duel. No, it's a dueling process with.
I'll get me a rapier.
Yeah, no, digestive biscuits at dawn.
Oh, biscuits.
Oh, we like that.
Yeah, that I can get behind.
You split the packet in half, you walk 10 paces, and then you throw biscuits at each other, and the person who hits the other one the most wins. And that's how we decide parts.
You would probably win that then, Greg, because I'm a rotten throw.
No, I'm even worse, so don't worry.
That sounds quite wholesome for this material. Maybe they should mud wrestle.
Oh. Sorry.
We need a fundraising activity, so pay-per-view live stream.
Yeah.
Okay, we really should be saying this outside of session, really, shouldn't we? So on that note, ladies and gentlemen, because I think we're not going to get anything more serious out of these people, are we? We're just not going to get anything more. No. So on that note, I'm just going to say thank you to all the readers and goodbye. Bye.